Prepare to uncover what the British royal family is desperately trying to hide. Behind the glittering facades and official smiles, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry have become the center of the most harsh and scandalous intrigues that have rocked the entire monarchy. Here you will see shameful quarrels, creepy secrets, and terrible secrets that never made it into the social chronicle. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, as is well known, are not among the most beloved members of the British royal family. The Sussexes are not popular among ordinary Britons or their royal relatives. This antipathy towards the younger prince and his wife did not arise from nowhere, but has real grounds. The main reason for the drop in their rating was primarily the fact that they refused to perform royal duties, left the UK, and later gave a scandalous interview to a journalist in which they revealed many family secrets. However, the tense relationship between the Sussexes and the rest of the British royal family began to form long before these high-profile and widely known incidents. Initially, neither Prince William, nor King Charles, nor Queen Elizabeth II were thrilled that Prince Harry had decided to link his life with a divorced American actress. Nevertheless, the prince insisted on his choice, and relatives had to accept the upcoming wedding. When Elizabeth II got to know Meghan better, she initially even took a liking to her. In any case, the Queen met her new daughter-in-law into the family quite warmly and cordially. For example, Elizabeth II gave Meghan jewelry. One day she gave the Duchess cute pearl earrings, which were an exact miniature copy of her own pearl earrings. In addition, Meghan accompanied the Queen to various events, and at these events, Elizabeth II demonstrated with her whole appearance that she liked her grandson's wife. However, this harmony did not last long. Meghan soon began to show her character to her new relatives. The Duchess of Sussex immediately made it clear to everyone that she did not intend to make significant efforts to fit into the royal family. In this respect, Meghan turned out to be the complete opposite of the friendly and accommodating Kate Middleton. The Duchess appeared at Buckingham Palace with the aim of imposing her own rules on others. Even before the wedding with Harry, Meghan managed to quarrel with Kate Middleton. The conflict between the future sisters-in-law broke out over dresses for the bridesmaids. One of the bridesmaids, as is known, was to be Kate and William's daughter, Princess Charlotte. When the dresses for the bridesmaids were brought for a fitting, it turned out that they did not fit any of the girls in size. In addition, the dresses were not sewn as originally planned, and apparently did not look the best. As a result, Charlotte really didn't like the dress in which she was supposed to appear at Harry's wedding. Kate later said that Charlotte was so upset about her appearance that she even cried in front of the mirror. Of course, feeling sorry for her daughter, Kate decided to intervene and fix the situation. However, when Kate started a conversation about the dress with Meghan and asked her to change its design, she reacted rudely. There was a quarrel between Meghan and Kate. Kate later said that Meghan brought her to tears. Meghan, in her scandalous interview in the US, on the contrary, claimed that she was the one who cried after the quarrel with Kate. In any case, this incident, of course, was not liked by the Queen. Wishing to resolve the situation, Kate sent Meghan flowers the next day as an apology. Meghan accepted the flowers. However, relations between the Duchess of Cambridge and the Duchess of Sussex have since become strained, and remained so forever. Sometime after the wedding, Meghan also disappointed Queen Elizabeth II. This happened because the Duchess began to treat the servants in the royal residences very rudely. It is known that during the period when Meghan and Harry were still performing their royal duties, about a dozen employees resigned from the palaces of the British royal family, and they all later stated that they left precisely because of the Duchess's rudeness. Of course, many servants complained to the Queen herself about Meghan's inappropriate behavior that demeaned their dignity. For example, Meghan once targeted one of the palace gardeners for humiliation. The gardener endured for a long time, but at some point could not stand it, and told the situation to the head gardener. He, in turn, turned to Elizabeth I and asked for protection for the young man. After listening to the head gardener, who described in detail what Meghan had said to the young man, Elizabeth II, according to eyewitnesses, was horrified. The Queen immediately found Meghan and scolded her right in front of the servants. After all, in the British royal family, it is customary to treat the service personnel with respect. In addition to Kate, Elizabeth II, and the servants in the palace, Meghan also managed to quarrel with Camilla. It would seem that a woman who has survived many scandals, endured attacks from the press and public hatred, could not be unbalanced by anything or anyone. But Meghan succeeded in this as well. Once Meghan angered Camilla so much that the Sussexes were even kicked out of the party where they were at that moment. This incident occurred 4 days after Meghan and Harry's wedding. That day, Prince Charles was celebrating his anniversary. Of course, among other guests at the holiday, which was held outdoors in the palace garden, Meghan and Harry were also invited. At first, everything went smoothly at the celebration. The only thing that many members of the British royal family were not too happy about was that the attention of most photographers and journalists was still riveted on Meghan Markle. Meghan, in turn, initially smiled sweetly at the guests and greeted them politely. However, when members of the royal family, including Meghan, had already greeted all the arriving guests, a very strange and unpleasant incident occurred. When the British national anthem played, everyone present stood at attention. Meghan, as eyewitnesses said, unexpectedly turned to Harry and said to him, "How incredibly boring it is here. Let's get out of here." These words of Meghan surprised not only the people standing nearby, but also the prince himself. It is unknown what actually happened, whether someone offended Meghan or whether she was really bored with the event from the very beginning. In any case, Harry tried to reason with his wife. After all, leaving the holiday dedicated to the heir to the British throne without a visible reason would be the height of indecency and could provoke a scandal. Meghan seemed to calm down, and Harry went to the podium to deliver a speech in honor of his father. Camilla, Charles, and Meghan also approached the podium and began to listen to Harry. What exactly happened at this moment is unknown, but it is assumed that Meghan again began to tell Camilla and Charles that she was bored and wanted to leave. Camilla, for obvious reasons, did not like this at all. After all, the holiday was arranged for her beloved husband. Hearing Meghan's words, Camilla turned to the Duchess with an angry face and strictly shushed her. In response, Meghan allegedly stuck her tongue out at the future queen. It was at this moment, according to legend, that the famous photo of the Duchess with her tongue out was taken. After that, Meghan turned around and moved away from Camilla and Charles to the side, where she continued to smile at the cameras. Camilla, unlike Kate and Elizabeth II, has never been excessively tolerant. Therefore, punishment for disrespect followed immediately. After finishing his speech, Harry came down from the podium and approached Meghan. After that, the Sussexes began to chat merrily with the guests. However, after a few minutes, Charles's butler approached Meghan and Harry and said, "The car is ready." This phrase in the royal family is coded and means that it is time for the addressee to leave the event. Stunned, Harry and Meghan stood, not knowing what to say or do. Then Prince Charles himself approached the Duke and Duchess and confirmed that it was time for them to go home. After that, Harry and Meghan had no choice but to proceed across the green lawn to the served car. Thus, Camilla quickly put Meghan in her place. Now it is believed that it was Camilla who subsequently forced the Dukes of Sussex to leave the palace. Meghan did not like the future queen very much. Camilla, being a straightforward and somewhat rude person, did not hide this at all. For example, once at a family party, forgetting about tolerance, Camilla allowed herself a joke that terribly offended the pregnant Meghan. Charles's wife said that it would be incredibly funny if Meghan's child was born with small, like all black people, but red curls. Meghan was offended by this, and the Sussexes left the party. Of course, it is unknown whether this incident actually happened, but later in his memoirs, Harry wrote that it was Camilla who was to blame for the discord between the Sussexes and the royal family. According to the prince, Charles's wife specifically incited the press against Meghan. She did this, according to Harry, to divert the media's attention from her own scandalous persona. Harry and Meghan believe that Camilla deliberately allowed leaks of information from the royal family, which should have remained confidential for ordinary Britons. For example, according to Harry, it was through Camilla that the press learned about the quarrel between Meghan and Kate on the eve of the Sussexes' wedding. In their scandalous interview with a journalist, Harry and Meghan mentioned that one of the members of the royal family discussed the appearance of the future Sussex child and worried about how dark his skin would be. According to Harry, this greatly offended Meghan. The Sussexes did not name who exactly in the British royal family was worried about the skin color of the future prince, but it is assumed that they may have meant Camilla. It is believed that relations between the king, his wife, and Harry and Meghan did not work out, oddly enough, because of Princess Diana. Harry, as is known, was his mother's favorite. Diana understood that it would be difficult for her younger son to play the role of spare all his life. Therefore, in childhood, she spoiled Harry much more than William. When Diana died and Charles married Camilla, Harry never accepted his father's choice. Unlike William, who treated Charles's new marriage more or less loyally, Harry decided for himself that the woman because of whom his mother died would never become a close person to him. Of course, Camilla always felt this attitude of Harry towards herself. Therefore, the younger prince was never among her favorites. Learning that Harry had decided to marry a divorced actress, Camilla allegedly most actively among other members of the royal family opposed this marriage. Harry several times almost managed to convince Charles, who, as is known, does not have a particularly firm character, that he had made the right choice of bride. However, every time Charles was already beginning to soften, Camilla intervened. Under her influence, the crown prince again began to oppose Harry's marriage. Of course, neither Harry nor Meghan subsequently forgave Camilla for this. Relations between the Sussexes and their stepmother have always remained strained. Because of this, most likely the scandals broke out related to Meghan's bad behavior at the celebration of Charles's birthday, the skin color of the future heir to the Sussexes, and possibly some others that the general public will never know about.